What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Next week, we do have Black Friday, and we're starting to see more deals get officially announced, with the latest being from Sony, to where they will be discounting not only their console, but also several games and accessories, so we'll take a look at all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Nintendo, as they have now officially released a statement after their latest Switch 2 update bricked a bunch of accessories that'll let everyone know if they meant to do it or not. And we also have to go over more about the situation when it comes to RAM prices and VRAM, as heading into 2026, doesn't really look like things are going to get any better. And in fact, some manufacturers are even considering cutting a lot of their budget video card offerings. All of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the SpawnWave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below. And we're going to start today with an update around the Game Awards, as one nominee is actually withdrawing. And we can see this. Now, this is over on X from Megabonk, saying, "I'm withdrawing from the Game Awards. It's an honor and a dream for Megabonk to be nominated for TGA, but unfortunately, I don't think it qualifies for the category Debut Indie Game. I've made games in the past under different studio names, so Megabonk is not my debut game." Now, they go on to say, "I really appreciate the nomination, support, and votes, but it doesn't feel right in this category. You should vote for another one of the amazing debut titles. They are all amazing games. Thanks again. New Megabonk update coming soon." There you go. All the Megabonk players out there, more content to look forward to. Now, some were already kind of going back and forth and arguing what exactly a debut indie title means for that category, because this is I guess a different entity that they created Megabonk under. And they've made games in the past under different studio names. So, but either way, the bottom line is they don't really feel comfortable being there because of some of their other titles they've released, and this not being, I guess, a debut indie game from them. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's the Game Awards. Like, the game itself is already selling a bunch, and in fact, this message they put out there got millions and millions of views, so just more awareness, which that is the big part about the Game Awards that's nice for smaller games that do get nominated. It brings a lot of interest and awareness to a title that many people maybe hadn't heard about before. But yeah, it looks like Megabonk is actually going to be, I guess, then removed from the debut indie title. But interesting stuff, because I don't think I've really seen that before, where we had a nominee withdraw from the event, at least not until now. Also, we did have a bit of a shadow drop for the Switch 1 and Switch 2. We can see this over on Nintendo's product page. Yeah, it's Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. Now, this is Tomb Raider 2013 that then moved over to Xbox One and PS4, and now we have it, I mean, more than a decade later on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. Now, on the Switch 1, it runs at 30 FPS, you'll have lower resolution and all that stuff, but on the Switch 2, it is running at 60 FPS, and notably would be higher resolution and all of that, but this is a good game. I mean, if you haven't played it, this is a great opportunity to do so. Also, I saw RGT had played it and mentioned that the multiplayer is there, so I went over and looked at the product page, and I mean, yeah, it does mention online play, so I don't know, that's kind of cool. Now, this is from Aspire. Their ports can be hit or miss depending on the quality for it. But from here, I would like to see Rise of the Tomb Raider. Of that trilogy, that was my favorite one, and it still, to this day, looks really, really good. And it'd be kind of cool just to see how it would perform there on the Switch 2. But it just shadow dropping here, Definitive Edition for Tomb Raider, and it releasing at $20 or marked down right now to $18. It's actually not bad. So yeah, I would recommend checking it out if you have not before, especially if we do end up getting Rise of the Tomb Raider and then maybe Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Well, this is where you'd want to start anyway. Oh, and the embargo did lift on the Analogue 3D yesterday morning, and I saw a bunch of the reviews go up. I did get actually a review unit for it, but at no fault of Analogue's, mostly FedEx, I got my unit much later than everyone else. So I think actually this weekend we'll take a look at it. I really want to do a tear down and look around some of the components and parts of the system, and then I'll get some footage and we'll kind of check it out, see how it does in action there. But for now, I guess, check out, we'll say MVG. He did a very good job with his, very, very thorough, checked out a number of different games, and did record 4K footage. So check that one out if you get a chance. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Sony and their Black Friday deals, which have been officially revealed. They were kind of leaked out a bit early, and we at least had an idea that the PlayStation 5 console was going to see a discount, so I wanted to bring that up ahead of time, since if you buy it now, and you get what I'm saying, you wouldn't be able to save money on the console that's about to be on sale. In fact, we can see this over on PlayStation Blog. These deals will be going live November 21st. So we're not very far away from that. Hold off a bit, obviously, since if you take a look at the console side, they do have the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition 825GB Fortnite Flower and Chaos bundle with a recommended retail price of $400, and the PS5 console 1TB, same Fortnite stuff there, $450. Now they do mention that it comes with 1,000 V-Bucks and I guess some PlayStation exclusive in-game content. Really, I think a lot of people are mostly focused in on just the discount of the PlayStation 5. Now, is the digital edition back down to where it originally launched in the price point in 2020? Yes, technically it is, but there you go. That's just, it is a weird world, I don't tell you. But in select regions, players can also save $100 on PS5 consoles, $100 on the PS5 Digital Edition consoles, and $100 on the PS5 Pro console. So if you've been thinking about getting that, upgrading or whatever, there you go, $100 off. Probably the best time to do it since, let's face it, these consoles are only getting more expensive as we go along. Now, when it comes to the accessories, we have $100 off the PlayStation VR 2, $20 off the PlayStation Portal, $20 off the Pulse Elite wireless headset, $30 off the Pulse Explore wireless earbuds, $30 off the DualSense Edge, $20 off the DualSense wireless controller. That might be the move, though. I mean, if you think about it just in terms of percentages of everything shown here, $20 off the DualSense wireless controller is a bit more than $30 off a DualSense Edge. Let me also have $20 off the Access controller. There are going to be various discounts on PS5 games. They list a few: Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, Lost Soul Aside, Astrobot, and God of War Ragnarok. We don't necessarily know at this time any of the other games that'll be on sale. Just I keep in mind, we'll probably see a big digital Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale that'll happen here soon. And then at different retailers, there'll be all kinds of games, I'm sure, marked down, and some may be retailer dependent. Some may come with a gift card. Like, there are all kinds of other tricks that some of these retailers can do, right, outside of just what Sony kind of offers here. There will also be PlayStation Plus membership discounts. So Sony says that players in participating countries who join PlayStation Plus during the Black Friday promotion can save up to 33% on a 12-month membership. Current PlayStation Plus members can save 33% on the remainder of their membership when upgrading from PlayStation Plus Essential/Extra up to Premium or Deluxe. So overall, not a bad Black Friday offering here from Sony. I mean, again, how often do we really see consoles go down in price, even for a limited time? While Sony has done that even last year, it feels like it's becoming more and more of an oddity at this point, whereas back in the day, you expected consoles not only go on sale for Black Friday, at times you would have just like limited time systems being introduced for Black Friday. Think of, I remember like Nintendo with the 3DS, like the new 3DS, a smaller one with the Mario, and there's like $100 or something. We've seen Sony with their PS4 Slim console, and they had a Spider-Man with it. It was $150, even with a gift card attached. So we have had much better Black Friday deals in the past. But again, everything is getting more expensive, so just seeing any kind of discount is like, wow, that's incredible. I should probably go pick that up. So this, yeah, most likely will be, I mean, the cheapest we've seen new consoles in a while. And that is kind of a shame because it's just the same price for the digital version that it was in 2020. Again, weird world. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo and their response after that 21.0.0 update that they issued for the Switch 2, as it had an effect on third-party docks that was not good because a number of them stopped working. Not everyone, as people were able to go through and test any third-party docks they had. Some found that they still worked. Others found that it just delivered power but no video out. And since then, we have seen some dock manufacturers actually go through and be able to provide firmware updates for the dock. Now, Nintendo has issued a response. We can see this is over on Tom's Hardware, saying in a statement, a Nintendo representative told Tom's Hardware that Nintendo Switch 2 outputs audio visuals once it detects that it is docked into a Switch 2 dock. Nintendo Switch does the same, outputting audio visuals once it detects that it is docked into a Nintendo Switch dock. Nintendo does not have any intention to hinder or invalidate legal third-party dock compatibility. So here's the thing, right? They don't have any intention. Doesn't mean that they won't accidentally, quote-unquote, affect third-party docks through different firmware updates. Now, apparently, 21.0.0 was a fairly substantial update behind the scenes for the Switch 2, as some data miners or people who provide, well, like custom firmware solutions and stuff noted online. So when you see some of these bigger changes in the background and it does change up values or compatibility with third-party docks, Nintendo may not mean to do it, but it still ends up happening. Which of course puts the end consumer in a very weird situation, because you may have a third-party dock that it could be one that you travel with since it's smaller or even cheaper, and you don't want to take your Switch 2 official dock with you since, I mean, they're pretty expensive. Nintendo has them more than $100 at this point. Again, the price of these things have only gone up since they came out. But the thing is, you may want to take a third-party dock with you, but at any time, you could see a 22.0.0 update, and then it just doesn't work. And then you have to hope that the dock manufacturer is able to push a firmware update, and they haven't moved on since then. I mean, we could be a few years into the generation, Nintendo just breaks compatibility with third-party docks. That is a shame that that's something we're really seeing now. But fortunately, at least for this recent update, a lot of the docks that I saw being talked about as not compatible any longer were able to be fixed and updated by a lot of these different providers. So we'll see going forward. But yeah, Nintendo apparently isn't meaning to do it. Although I guess it would benefit them if you just bought the first party dock, at least for now. If you did have a third party dock that wasn't working, may want to check in online, as there could be a firmware update for it. And hopefully Nintendo doesn't mess around with whatever the compatibility and different values are behind the scenes for those third party docks to work. Next up, let's talk about Nvidia, AMD, and video cards, as it seems like we're gonna have some issues going into 2026 with the rising cost around, well, a lot of these different memory chips. And while it's something we've talked about in the past, especially with some rumors around the idea of some of these different video cards maybe even being shelved, like a refresh for the 50 series, now it seems like maybe Nvidia and AMD are looking at their lineup of cards and a certain tier that just might not make sense to them anymore. This we can see over on Tech Powered Up, who says, Korea Economic Daily says Nvidia, AMD, and other GPU makers are considering dropping some mid to high-end gaming cards where memory now makes up an unusually large share of the cost. Taiwanese PC brands, including Asus, are also said to be looking at ways to reduce memory configurations in upcoming products. TrendForce warns that manufacturers may shift more production toward lower margin models or raise prices across the board to cope with higher component costs. With most modern PCs, laptops, consoles, tablets, and phones now shipping with at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, any further price spikes or supply shortages could force major brands to cut orders and increase retail pricing. I mean, check this out. Commercial Times reports that memory alone could add nearly $96 to basic Office PCs next year. And you're probably wondering, what exactly is causing the shortage for a lot of these memories? Well, it's again something that we discussed previously. It's a lot to do with the AI bubble right now, really, but it just keeps inflating. And well, a lot of these data centers are being stood up, and you can think about all the components that they are absorbing to try to create these data centers. And yeah, it seems like NAND being a big one, a lot of memory chips that, I mean, people talk about VRAM on these different video cards. It costs money, and as we're seeing now, if somebody looks at the Steam machine and it's 8 gigabytes of VRAM and they go, "Ooh, that might be a problem." Now think about if Nvidia goes, "Hey, this new video card has 10 gigabytes of VRAM, people are gonna go, "What's going on here, Nvidia? We're looking for the massive configuration with all the VRAM included," and it's just not feasible. And the other problem is, if they're trying to think more budget-oriented cards, but then here comes massive spikes in terms of memory costs, it doesn't make sense to build that card anymore, because it can't fit within, we'll say, $300, $400 threshold. It just doesn't work. So the answer would probably be to discontinue them completely. I mean, think about the other angle here. If you're AMD and Nvidia, where are you about to make a lot of your money? It's on the AI side. That's what's made Nvidia worth stupid amounts of money, probably more than they should be worth at this point. But AMD also seems to be jumping on the AI bandwagon, as they have their own deal in place now with OpenAI. So I hate to say it, when you're AMD and Nvidia, and you're probably going to make a substantial amount of money on all this AI stuff, the gaming cards kind of go on the back burner, it feels like. And if you need memory for data centers that's guaranteed, like it's guaranteed money, that might be the direction you go in. And as we see more and more shortages for memory, prices are only going to go up. So this is going to be very interesting going into 2026 and then eventually 2027, because at some point people are going to call for Nvidia to make the next series of video cards, and I am really interested to see what the prices look like, and certainly the memory configurations that they offer. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about new games coming to Xbox Game Pass. This we can see over on news.xbox.com. Starting on November 19th, in game preview, we have Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault, that's on PC. We also have Culebra and the Souls of Limbo. Now, this is funny. This is a game we talked about on the podcast this past weekend. Celia brought it up, and it's sort of this papercraft adventure game. So when I saw this, I went, oh, that's funny. Okay, so that's available now in Game Pass, cloud, console, and PC. We also have Revenge of the Savage Planet, cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Then moving to November 20th, Monsters Are Coming, Rock and Road, handheld, and PC. Then we have The Crew Motorfest, cloud, console, and PC. I mean, The Crew Motorfest was a pretty fun game. I feel like no one talked about it after it came out, but it's a fun open world sort of racing game. And they do mention there's more than 700 vehicles with cars, motorcycles, even boats and planes. So you can check that out. And we have on November 25th, Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden, cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Kill It with Fire 2, cloud, console, and PC. Moving to December 1st, one of our more anticipated games going into December here, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Game looks awesome. Old school style beat 'em up game here. Looking to jump into that one right away. Cloud, console, handheld, and PC. And then on December 2nd, we have Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Again, I would say The Crew Motorfest is, along with, of course, Cosmic Invasion, are the two big releases. But don't sleep on Souls of Limbo, the papercraft game. I think I'm going to give that one a download and try it out. Celia was talking it up quite a bit on the podcast, and the fact that it just drops into Game Pass here is a nice surprise, so I'll give it a look. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, do you own a third-party dock for your Switch 1 or Switch 2? Okay, 90% just say no. 10% say yes. And I did see people in the comments go, there was that whole scare early on with the Switch 1. And that is true, that we had issues where the third-party docks were like bricking Switch 1 systems. It was a whole thing, right? So I'm sure a lot of people were just went, you know what? I'm sticking with only official video out devices for docks. I get that. So it makes sense why there would be like 10% of people who do have them, whereas many just do not. And to me, the only reason that I would look at this time for the Switch 2 to get a third-party dock is probably a travel dock. And I know those dongle ones were pretty popular, and there were many of them just stopped working, and then I believe firmware updates have fixed a number of them. But it also is now in mind of, oh, are those the ones that's going to really have issues with the Switch 2 as it gets updated, which is going to get updated a lot throughout its life, obviously. Are those going to be the problematic ones? Because some of the others that were more stationary, standard-looking docks didn't have issues. It really just seems to be honestly, just a brand-by-brand situation, and it's really hard to tell which one will be affected with the next update. So with all of that in mind, I understand why many people out there are probably just like, you know what? I'm sticking with the official dock, and that's that. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from RJH, who says, Sonic Movie 3 not being nominated for Best Adaptation is baffling. I had to think about this for a minute because I went, oh, did that come out this year? It came out after the Game Awards in 2024 by like a couple of weeks or something, right? So I thought, I said, you know what? Yeah, that would technically be up for nomination then. And that's kind of weird that it's not, because the Sonic 3 movie was a lot of fun to see in theaters. And clearly for Sonic fans, I'm sure they were super excited sitting there seeing all the craziness that happens, especially towards the end of the movie. But it was just a really well done movie, I thought, for all the video game movies we grew up with. That one was pretty good, right? And again, it was a lot of fun to see with the kids and stuff in the theaters. So it's weird that wasn't nominated. It's almost like I wonder if some of the people that just forgot about it, like, again, I thought about it as a 2024 movie, so it wouldn't even necessarily cross my mind unless I was reminded that, oh yeah, that's right, it missed the cutoff last year because it happened, or it released after the Game Awards had happened in 2024. So strange situation there because, yeah, otherwise it would have definitely been a nominee. In fact, it probably would have been, I assume, a frontrunner for winning Best Adaptation. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here on a card. Or maybe you want to hear a bit about how Call of Duty Black Ops 7 seems to be struggling quite a bit, and it does make me wonder about now the age-old war between Call of Duty and Battlefield and how it looks like it's skewing in one direction, at least this year. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.